Hey, Tommy from the Run Testers with another first run review. In this video, me and Mike are going to be doing a first look at the Nike Terra Kiger 8. Big thank you to Sports Shoes for sending us the test versions of these shoes. I'm going to head out into a few parks around Brighton to try and hit some sort of semi-trails, and we'll report back in a bit. See you in a bit. The Nike Air Zoom Terra Kiger 8 costs £124.95 in the UK. There isn't a US price at the moment. It weighs in at 309 grams for men in a size 9, and the drop is 4mm. The Nike Air Zoom Terra Kiger 8 is a lightweight trail shoe that's made to tackle varied terrain with speed, featuring a secure fit in the upper to keep your foot in place over uneven ground. That upper is a breathable mesh material to keep your feet cool that includes a lining to keep debris out. There's also a React midsole foam to deliver a firmer ride with a sprinkling of cushioning and a Zoom Air unit in the forefoot to add responsiveness. The outsole is covered with multi-directional lugs that are designed to provide a good level of grip, and the heel is built to lock the foot in place so it doesn't move around over tricky ground. There's also a rock plate to protect the foot on pointy terrain, a skin layering at the toes for extra cover, and a padded tongue for comfort. Before I start, a few words on fit. They fit true to size to me. They do feel quite roomy in the front of the foot, so it does feel like there's quite a lot of space there, which I'm not normally used to with a trail shoe. I normally expect a trail shoe to be quite sort of locked down and fitted, but they do feel true to size for me. Very comfortable so far, but I'll report back in the full review if that's still the case after a few runs.
I actually sized down half a size in the Terra Kiger just because I have found that Nike shoes are quite roomy up the front, especially the trail shoes for me. And if you look at the kind of the size guide, the actual EU sizes suggest they are a little bit bigger than some of the other size 9s I'd normally use. Even in 8.5, I have a lot of room in the toe box. So yeah, I think they are very roomy up front. I've got a nice midfoot hold, but yeah, if you're worried about having too much room up front, if you've got a narrow foot like me, you could look into going half a size down, kind of at least.
So in terms of fit, all good for me really. I've got a UK size A, and on my narrow feet, I think it worked pretty well for me on that kind of one run. And a couple of things that I would probably kind of point out, I think there's quite generous amounts of space up front in the toe box, which I guess is quite nice to have when you're running a little bit longer and hotter conditions as well, and you have that extra room, which will kind of be appreciated. No real kind of pressing on the sides of the foot for me. There's some kind of nice padding around, kind of not generous padding, just a little bit of padding around the back and the sides of the foot. The tongue is kind of nice and thin, but a little bit of padding that sits on top, which makes it comfortable. And I think these kind of laces and kind of eyelets kind of lock in really nicely, so you get a good secure fit there as well. So yeah, in terms of the fit, all good for me. No major issues on that front.
So I've just got back from about a 5-mile run in the Terra Kiger 8s, and it wasn't the most impressive trail run. It was about 5 miles around my local trails in the parks. So it was mainly sort of gravel paths with some woodland muddy trails thrown in as well. But unfortunately, I couldn't find any wet mud to run in. It was actually fairly nice conditions today. As Nick will have said in his video, it was a beautiful day for running, and I couldn't find any really tricky, muddy terrain to run on. But on those paths I was running on, down some declines and up some inclines that were fairly steep, it felt really good. It felt like a nice lightweight shoe. I didn't really notice it on the feet. And it also felt very comfortable as well. There's not a lot of cushioning in the midsole of this shoe in comparison to some of the other trail shoes that I would run in over harder terrain and trails. But it definitely felt like there was enough cushioning in it to feel comfortable. I did end up doing a couple of K on road as well to get to the parks, and it felt fine for those. The lugs on the outside of the shoe, they're quite minimal, which means that they're not really a tricky shoe to wear when you're on harder ground. So it felt quite comfortable on those. But also the lugs did a pretty good job at gripping on the muddy inclines that I was running up as well. I think there's a nice level of outsole lugs on these that isn't too much, but does the job and makes it quite versatile. The pace I was running at, it was fairly general. I didn't really do a lot of different paces in this shoe in the first run. I just wanted to see how it felt for a general run at my base pace for training miles, which is probably about 4:50 5-minute kilometers at the moment, so nothing too impressive. Over that speed, it felt very comfortable. I felt like I could run a lot further in it, and as I say, I definitely didn't notice the shoe on the feet. It didn't cause me any issues at all.
So about to head off and do my first run in the Terra Kiger. I've got like a fairly nice run lined up today in my local forest. I'm going to be doing, basically going to go do a loop. I know it's about kind of 4 or 5k loop. I'm going to do one loop easy and then one loop kind of steady, and some strides at the end. It's kind of my kind of general base training run I do quite a lot of. In terms of the terrain, I was like, it's like about half a k of kind of road to get there and back, and then I'll be on forest paths, which even though it's lovely sunny today, are probably still going to be quite muddy. They often are around here. Like, it's not going to be tremendous elevation or anything like that, but it'll basically be undulating all the way. So it'll be a good test of the grip on them in some slightly muddier patches, something that the Nike Pegasus Trail often struggles with in my experience. And yeah, it'd be nice to run at a couple of different paces just to see how they feel when you're kind of, just pootling along, and when you're running with a little bit more purpose. All right, so just back from the first run in the Terra Kiger 8. Absolutely glorious day here in the UK. The kind of day where you're running with a mate. You definitely run a bit too hard on your steady section, which is what I did. But yeah, really enjoyed the run. Did kind of 5.5k easy loop, and then 4.5k pushing a bit, and then kind of some strides and jogged home. So really nice to be out in the forest. And yeah, I like the shoe. It did a pretty good job. So forest is still wetter than I thought, and there's some nice muddy sections to kind of push through hard, kind of running kind of 3:30, 3:40 a k pace downhill through mud, and it's got good grip. It's certainly got better grip than the Pegasus Trail road shoe, and in general it is a bit more kind of nimble and fast. Will be better on, like, there wasn't massively technical trails today, it's just a bit of mud, there wasn't anything too narrow or anything, but I could see how it would be more agile and nimble on those than something like the Pegasus Trail, which is obviously a bit more built as comfort, big kind of slightly hefty cruiser. It's got a bit more speed in it too. It's got kind of just generally a firmer, more kind of, like I say, nimble ride really. And yeah, the grip was kind of better than I expected. Even still, I still didn't look at the lugs and look at them and go, oh, they were fantastic in the mud. But yeah, it did a good job there. Had no problems with grip on slick stuff at speed. I say, yeah, it's definitely a shoe built for the trails, like even short sections on the road and the harder ground. I think you get a bit of kind of foot fatigue on there from the lugs. I wouldn't say it's as good a road to trail shoe as, yeah, like I say, the Pegasus Trail or another shoe like that. It's certainly something that is far more comfortable, even on quite hard, but still, off-road trails. So yeah, I enjoyed it today. Like, it'll be interesting to see what it's like on kind of a longer run. I'll try that, but did all right here. I'd like to try and get on some slightly more technical trails. It's not very easy where I am, but I'll give it a bit of a go. And hopefully between the kind of three of us who have the shoe, we'll be able to get onto a nice range of terrains to test it out.
So in terms of my run test, I did over an hour of running kind of my local trails. I took it pretty easy just because I've got another marathon coming up, which is going to make up for the kind of Bilbao Marathon debacle that I had a few weeks ago. So yeah, I was taking it very easy, but I did manage to kind of take this shoe out on a kind of mixture of surfaces to kind of see what it handled. Even kind of some mud, there was some rain, there's some hills in the part of London that I'm in, so I was able to kind of see how it handles in terms of the grip of this outsole for kind of elevated kind of spots as well. And generally it was pretty good. Now, I've run a lot in the Pegasus Trail, or I do run a lot in the Pegasus Trail. This is a very different shoe to run in from that, and I imagine people who run in this shoe or previous generations of this shoe and running the Pegasus Trail will know that. I would definitely say instantly this reminded me of running in a barefoot shoe, which I've obviously run a lot in and still do run a lot in as well. And what I mean in that sense is that I definitely felt more close to the ground running in this shoe. I felt more grounded, and actually I quite liked it. I didn't think the cushioning or any kind of the ride that you get in here is massively lively, but what I thought is I felt very nimble on that run, and I felt I could kind of move around, and I could run quicker when I threw in some kind of a few strides in there as well. I definitely felt on the kind of harder surfaces, it worked kind of nicely. When I kind of went through some mud, I don't think these lugs kind of work well, though, from the mud it did go through, it didn't kind of hold up in the kind of outsole here at all, which I quite like, so quite easy to clean at least. And then kind of up the hills, it kind of worked really nicely. It was very enjoyable to go back down those hills in this shoe as well. The only thing I really kind of noticed, which maybe was a little bit of a negative, was I did a fair amount of twisting and turning in my run, and what I found is I found a little bit of discomfort just on the sides of my foot, which I was wondering, or just made me think, is this a shoe that's going to be great for kind of technical trails? I don't think this is how Nike advertises it anyway. It definitely feels like a moderate shoe or a moderate trail shoe in terms of the terrain it's best suited for. So yeah, in terms of that first run, it worked pretty well for me. I definitely feel like the kind of firmer to harder surfaces where it worked best for me. I would be wary about kind of going kind of a little bit more technical in terms of the trails, just because maybe signs there that it might not have enough protection there. But I think this kind of upper worked really nicely. I got a really good grip in terms of the surfaces that I did run on from this outsole, and I feel like it can, be a solid trail shoe, particularly just a dedicated trail shoe. Definitely not a road to trail shoe, that's for sure, in terms of what you're getting in this shoe and what I've experienced on that first run.
So just a quick verdict from me on the Terra Kiger 8. I think it's a nice, versatile shoe to wear. I'm impressed with it so far on the first run, and I definitely look forward to doing a few more miles in it and actually taking it into some trickier terrain up on the South Downs and seeing how it does in the mud. For me, I think it's quite similar to something like the Saucony Peregrine range. It definitely has that same style of lug where it's not too noticeable, and it's also a little bit softer as well than some of the mud trail shoes that I sometimes run in, and that just makes it better for running across road as well. I don't think it is necessarily a great road to trail shoe. I think you need a lot more cushioning on a shoe to make it a really good road to trail shoe, but it can handle road and harder ground with this React foam midsole cushioning. So I think it's fine for that. I think it's nice and versatile, but overall I think it's good for if you want to pick up the pace a little bit more as well. It feels like a shoe that's designed for running a bit faster, because it's not the lightest shoe, but it feels quite light on the feet. So all in all, for me, I think this is a nice first run in a shoe, and I'm very optimistic about the rest of the testing that I'm going to be doing in it.
So initial thoughts on the Terra Kiger 8 is that it's been pretty good for me so far. Obviously in that one run, I've been able to test it kind of on a kind of variety of different kind of surfaces. I've been able to take it up on some hills as well to kind of see how it copes there. I definitely think it's best suited, or feels best suited to me, and the kind of firm to hard surfaces, a kind of mix of terrain. I definitely don't think it works massively well in kind of wet, kind of muddy conditions, just based on the kind of lugs you're getting here. And then also maybe it might not be one, I think, maybe for technical trails. Obviously, I'm going to put a bit more running into it, but I feel like just the kind of slight discomfort or kind of noticeable kind of pressing I got when I was kind of twisting and turning my runs, it definitely made me worry or be wary of whether it would be a good technical shoe. Yeah, it definitely reminds me of running in my barefoot shoes, that's for sure. So that's something that I could definitely appreciate, and having that kind of more grounded, actually less cushioned feel than I get when I run in the peg trails, what I run in a lot. So yeah, so far so good. And yeah, definitely a shoe I'm looking forward to spending a lot more off-road time in as well.
Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click the little bell. And don't forget to check the channel out for all the other videos we've got from the latest road and trail shoes, as well as watches and headphones out at the moment. Thanks a lot for watching. See you next time.